I've always been taught that the best way to learn history is to experience it. And there's no other better way to teach students, there's no better way to teach adults than to actually participate in what you're learning and be active. And that's what we try to do here. Well, we're a very unorthodox type of experience. We're not a museum of text panels necessarily or a bunch of artifacts behind glass cases. We're a museum of experience. And from the moment you step on this site, you are taking an active role not only in learning the history, but you're taking an active role in the performance through which you learn the history.
The Boston Tea Party Ships and Museum is probably not what most people might expect in a museum. What we've tried to capture here is the moment, actually being a participant that starts out from the time that you're in the Old South Meeting House replica, and then the march down to Griffin's Wharf, where you are a participant in the destruction of the tea, and then your entrance into what we think is one of the most innovative, technologically advanced museums in the United States today.
So here, our museum experience is run by a show controller, and it allows us to run tours every 15 minutes from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And it works like clockwork. The actors don't even need to open doors, they open and close by themselves. It uses a timeline which independently starts each leg of the experience for us. So all the actor really has to do is worry about his or her timing and entertaining the crowd and relaying that history.
We took a different approach to telling the story of the Boston Tea Party in a way that I don't think it's ever been done before. We've used some very, very high-tech opportunities to make the story compelling and memorable. While everything that will be seen and appreciated and experienced here at the museum is based on facts, it's also presented in a way that people become engaged with it, both emotionally and intellectually. While we have a very high level of technology used in telling the story, we also have the component of the live reenactors, the storytellers. They're also in period costumes to lend a hand in creating an atmosphere where the story is, again, believable, credible, and memorable.
Rather than saying, welcome aboard this ship, is a replica of the ship that was used, and then they threw tea. No, you put them on, you say, come on board, we're now clear, take the tea, throw it overboard, and you become part of the experience, and therefore, inadvertently, everyone around you becomes the museum. They are the living museum, the living experience, and everyone will sign on to whatever it is that you're asking them to do.
We were very fortunate to come in contact with Media Merge out of Birmingham, Alabama. Media Merge was at this one show that we went to several years ago, promoting a new format of audio-visual presentation on a wide screen. And when I saw it, I knew immediately that it was exactly what we needed here.
So Act 1 takes place here in the meeting room. Act 2 takes place aboard one of our two ships, either the ship Eleanor or the brig Beaver, where you get to destroy the tea and throw tea into Boston Harbor. And Act 3 takes place in our museum, on our barge, where you'll see one of only two surviving tea chests from the actual Boston Tea Party and learn about the ramifications of your actions, you as a participant of the Boston Tea Party, and what it meant to the rest of the American Revolution.
We used in the first part of Act 3, holographic projection.
The technology allows us to tell the story better. It allows us to literally bombard their senses with the history. With the holograms that we have, they're able to hear an argument between two women, the Patriot and the Tory, and they can transport themselves back to a bustling colonial Boston wharf.
The typical way of doing this might be either with live actors, or it might be done with an actual audio-visual motion picture, which we're all used to. This new technology allows figures to actually appear inside of an environment where there are objects, static objects behind them and static objects in front of them. So the illusion of real people becomes almost visceral. They look and feel like real people. That makes the conversation, makes the event all the more believable. The guests are then led into our portrait gallery, where the first experience is dealing with the history of one of the most important artifacts in American history, one of only two known tea crates that survived December 16, 1773. The guest's attention is then turned to the portrait gallery itself, where there's a debate between King George III and Samuel Adams. Now, this debate, of course, never took place, but all of the dialogue in the debate was taken from their letters of correspondence and their diaries, and is true and accurate. We have always tried to show this as an ongoing debate, whether it's between a Tory and a patriot, or two of the more important protagonists in the beginning moments of the Revolution, which was Samuel Adams and King George III. And one of the ways that we've chosen to do that is in our portrait gallery. And we've invested a great deal of time to develop a technology that allows us to tell the story in a way that I'm not sure that's ever been told before.
When they see our beautiful talking portraits, they're oftentimes startled by the portraits coming to life, and that's part of the fun. And they can literally hear King George III and Samuel Adams had a debate that they probably both wish they had at one point, but the two men never met. And we can show them what might have happened had those two gentlemen met.
Final phase of Act 3 is when the guests are taken into the Minuteman Theater, showing the film Let It Begin Here, which is now an award-winning presentation.
And we literally do bombard their senses. And when that curtain opens up and they see that that screen is 3 times bigger than they expected, we see their jaws drop, we see their eyes light up, and that film really puts them in the spirit of the Revolution. It puts them in the battlefield. And you can see people tense up when those redcoats with their bayonets fixed charge in their direction.
It tells this story in a way that's probably not ever been done before, because it's a total immersion environment where not only is the screen wraps around the audience, but the sound wraps around the audience. There is a sensory factors in the stage. There is a rather interesting way that we project the battle scene that makes it really come alive, to put people in that place and at that time, once again to make them feel the importance, to feel the incredible energy of what transpired to make this country free.
The Boston Tea Party Ships and Museum is a multimedia, multi-sensory, interactive, immersive experience.
It's a spectacular way to continue drawing people in. And the flawless way that we've integrated lights and sound and the information, along with your host who remains in character and costume, it really is, I think, the wave of the future of museums and attractions.
One of the most gratifying things in using all this technology, which, by the way, was not using technology for technology's sake just because it existed, but again, it was to create a compelling story that would capture people's emotional and intellectual imagination, and it works.